Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at the Near Future Propulsion mod, which is being made by forum user NearT. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is, well, Near Future Propulsion, and that means lots of cool new engines for you guys to play with. And of course, I should mention that this is actually only one part of 4 different downloads, which I guess you could call submods, that come together to form the overall Near Future Technologies, which is an overall mod I've been meaning to talk about for ages on this channel. But either new mods came out that I decided took precedence, or frankly, I could never figure out how in the world to present this thing. I couldn't decide between doing one gigantic hour or 2 hour long episode, or split it into 4 parts, since there are the 4 separate downloads. But, you know, with the new year and the new update, since as of just a couple of days ago on January 23rd, all 4 downloads did receive updates, patches, etc., I figured, what the heck, let's finally get around to it and do it in the 4 different parts. So today is part 1 of 4 for Near Future Technologies, starting with propulsion. So let's jump into the VAB and have a look at all the lovely pieces. Now we're actually going to grab ourselves a Mark 1-2 command pod, and I'm actually also going to go down and grab ourselves a Hub Max, because it'll be a little bit easier for showing off the engines, as if we do go to the engines tab, I'm actually going to be going through the normal in-game tabs rather than a custom tab or anything like that, because I actually think it's easier since they are grouped together fairly nicely in here. And one thing I should talk about with the engines is we have a fair few to go through, and they're all grouped into different categories. So the first category of engines we're going to look at is the Magneto-plasma dynamic thruster, which I think is my favorite. Now these ones are meant to be used with the, or well rather, how to put this? They have the best thrust to weight ratio of all the electric engines, but they use a whole crap load of a lot of electricity to actually function. Now you'll notice, if I actually pin that there, it does, rather than using xenon gas, it uses lithium, which is a custom resource in this mod, as well as the electric charge to produce your thrust. Now it also should be mentioned that all of the engines in this mod today are built for space. None of these things are good in atmosphere. And the first of these Magneto-plasma dynamic thrusters, the Sharon, creates a maximum of 46 kilonewtons in vacuum, uses nearly 400 electric charge per second, and will use just a mere little 3.039 lithium per second. So not a whole lot. It does have some gimbling range of 1 degree, which overall is pretty good. And we'll just pop this thing on here. You can see it is a very tiny engine. And how in the world does something this small use that much freaking electricity per second? Yeah, again, 400 nearly. That's a lot, but it is overall a very beautifully made engine. All of these engines, frankly, are absolutely gorgeous in their design and their texturing, and this one, very, very useful. Like I said, the best thrust to weight ratio of all of these engines, but will use a crap load of charge. The next we have is the, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that one, Pyrrhus? And this one will produce a maximum of 92 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum, but use, oh boy, nearly 1,000 electric charge per second and 5.184 lithium. Again, it does have a bit of gimbling at 1 degree, and there we go. Again, absolutely gorgeous in its design. If I actually zoom out here a little bit, very beautifully made. Now the last one of these actually isn't quite grouped with the rest. This is the Colossus Magneto-plasma dynamic engine, and this baby will produce 237 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum, but will use nearly 3,000 electric charge per second and 11.91 lithium. And this thing, well, it's big. It's very big. It's the 2.5 meter size, and it's gorgeous. Oh, I love this thing, and it's an extremely powerful space engine. I really do enjoy this thing. It's probably one of my most used engines in this pack, frankly. And this is the series of 3 engines for the Magneto-plasma dynamic thrusters, which are quite cool. Now let's drop these off, and the next 3 actually kind of fall in line with the in-game electric propulsion system we already have, as it's meant to be ion drives. And so we have the high snap ion thruster, which, I should mention, like with the Magneto-plasma dynamic thrusters, this kind of has its own category, which is meant to have a low thrust to weight ratio, but really good ISP, and they run like with the normal electric engine that we have on xenon gas. So the first one, the high snap, will have a very meager 4.1 kilonewtons in space, use 149 electric charge and 0.38 xenon gas, and if we pop it on here, is a pretty cool little engine. Now, what's fun with a lot of these, and also the next category of the HAL thrusters, they have standard looks, which if we actually zoom in a little bit more to get a look at this thing, a very beautiful, very cool little square engine, and this is the standard look, but we can also go for a compact look. So it doesn't have what looks like potentially some sort of heat exchangers on the sides, so if you want it to be a bit more compact and a bit more sleek of a design, you could go with that. Now let's zoom out a bit here and go to the next one, the Joule 4 gridded ion thruster, which has a max thrust of 5.58 kilonewtons, again 400 electric charge and 0.295 xenon gas per second. And if we pop this one right over there, excellent. A very beautiful thing, kind of looks like almost a supersized version of the Dawn, and again has either the standard or the compact version. So there you go, just slightly different looks there. Nice to have that variety. Now the next one we have here is, oh no, that's a HAL thruster. Here's the next ion thruster, the After. Now this one, again, we don't have a 2.5 meter size for this one. It's roughly the same size as this. Again, it has a compact size, or the standard there, and the stats on this one are a max of 2.3 kilonewtons in vacuum, will use 44 electric charge per second and 0.36 xenon gas. So, you know, overall pretty slow burner, but a good engine. Very nice to have indeed. Now the next category, if I zoom out again and actually get all these off here, there we go, one more, is the HAL effect thrusters, which we have the 3 right here. And these are meant to be better thrust to weight ratio at the cost of some ISP compared to the ion engines, and these run on argon gas for their fuel, so another custom one added in. And the first one we have here is the Gyro 1 HAL thruster, and if we pop that baby on there, excellent. A very cool little engine. I do quite enjoy the design of it. Again, standard and compact design, and that one really does change quite a bit between the two. You really do lose a lot of parts on that one. Now, as for the stats, has a maximum thrust of 1.3 kilonewtons in vacuum, will use 9.9 electric charge, but 26 argon gas. The next one we have is the Triplet, which, again, there we go, just pop right there. And, oh, this one does not have a compact design, kind of looks like a stovetop, frankly, but is a pretty good little engine here at a max of kilonewtons of 7.73, which uses 99.9 electric charge and 105 argon gas. That's quite a bit. And the final one, the Gyro 2, which if we pop down there, again, this one does have the standard and compact varieties. Doesn't lose quite as much as the Gyro 1 up here, but overall does definitely change the appearance. Now this one will have a max thrust of 3.5 kilonewtons, use 39 electric charge per second, and roughly 52 argon gas. Overall, fun little design. Let's pop those off. There we are. One more. Perfect. Now, the next engine design we have is the pulsed inductive thrusters. Now, these are similar to the HALs. They run on argon fuel. but they have a unique ability to dump extra electricity into the engine to increase the ISP, but it'll generate a crap load of heat, which, you know, may or may not blow up your engine depending on how long you make it last. And the first one here is the scintillator, and if we just pop that one there, does this have a compact? It does not, but we do have the option of, you know, shroud, just like on any engine, really. And there we go. Again, a beautiful looking design to this thing. Now, its stats has roughly 20 kilonewtons, well, 19.45. In vacuum, we'll use 198 electric charge and 317 argon gas. Oh boy, now you can get up to quite a bit more ISP on this one and a much higher energy range, up to 399 electric charge per second. Again, though, it will really increase the heat on these things, which is why, personally, I really don't use them much, because I would probably make it last too long and it'd explode. The next is the inductor, and if we pop that one there, you can see a much larger design vessel, or, well, not vessel, but engine, and has a max thrust of 35.35 kilonewtons, uses roughly 500 electric charge and roughly 450 argon gas, and can be throttled up to a max of 999 electric charge per second. It's a big one. Now the next we have is the repulsor, pulsed inductive thruster, another really big engine here. Very beautiful though, I really do love the look of that thing. And it has a max thrust in vacuum of 54.5, will spend about 1,000 electric charge per second and 566 argon gas, and can go up to nearly 2,000 electric charge per second, again with the risk of heat damage. So there we go on those. Oh boy, dump that, and that one. And the last group of engines we have is down at the bottom here, the VASIMR plasma engines, which are the most high-tech and fancy of these, that run on either xenon or argon, depending on how much thrust you're wanting to use. And they have can be tuned to a pretty high thrust but low ISP operation, or low thrust, high ISP. And again, that's depending on which fuel you want to use. Now, the first one we have is the cyclotron of VASIMR, and that is right there, a very cool big engine. I think this one's probably my favorite in the looks department. It's just a very beautifully designed thing. And with, oh god, pin, there we go. No, it's still not pinning. There we are, excellent. With xenon gas at roughly a rate of 10 per second and 1,000 electric charge, this will do a max vacuum thrust of 67. Now with argon, using 263 of that and a 2,000 electric charge, we'll get, on the other hand, 43.85 kilonewtons in a vacuum. Now the next is the magnetron VASIMR, a much smaller design, as you can see, with two different engine nozzles, and this one, when using xenon at 2.338 and roughly 400 electric charge, this will produce 14.9 kilonewtons in vacuum, and under argon with 60 per second and 400 electric charge, you will get roughly 9.5 kilonewtons of thrust in a vacuum. And the final one, oh, that's the tiniest. There we go. Let's give it a little zoom in. There we are. This one, the Helicon, yeah, we'll go with that. With the xenon gas at 0.704 per second and 99 electric charge, it'll produce 4.14 kilonewtons. And with the argon at 17 per second and electric charge of 99.1, it'll produce 2.54 kilonewtons. So, very cool, very nice designs. I do enjoy having all these different categories. But of course, with all these new fuels, we do have some new engines, which I'm just going to go through real quick. If you want to see how much each of these carry, you can go and check that out on your own. Right now, I am popping out all of the different argon tanks, and as you can see, well, we have a wide variety of different argon tanks. In fact, it keeps going because there's a slightly different design right down there. And we're still going. These are all individual argon tanks of varying sizes and varieties. So there you go. There is all the new argon tanks for you to enjoy. Very cool. I love the designs on some of these, especially this one right here. Very cool sort of ribbed design. I love it. Now let's pop these off and go down to here where we have a couple of different lithium tanks. So we got that one right there, a double size, a triple size, and then again a separate design of one right here, which again sort of the single size, double size, and no triple size on that one. Alright, so that's the lithium, and finally we have some extra xenon containers. If you know the standard xenon things aren't enough, we have this lovely one right there, a double size container for that, a triple size container if I'd actually connect these things. There we are, lovely. And then an even larger size if you're going a long distance. I love the look of these with all the little individual cylindrical containers. Very, very cool. And finally, a radial side tank. Very awesome design to those xenon containers. Very, very cool indeed. So let's actually load up a ship here to show these things off. And I have my Near Future Propulsion ship, which, actually that's the autosave version. I'm going to actually go down to the full one just in case. There we go. We'll load that. And, ooh, I actually almost forgot one part. In science, there is the Ares atmospheric sounder, which will help you find argon gas and xenon gas, etc. So you can collect that from planetary atmospheres, because, well, you gotta have that argon. And here we are, we have the Near Future Propulsion ship, and I'm gonna make a note right here that I have 64 RTGs on this thing, powering this, and it's nowhere near enough. And that should give you an idea, of course, about how much power these things use. Now, you saw the stats just like I did, some of these using thousands of electric charge per second, so I'm actually going to have to get out the hyper edit here and miscellaneous tools so I can make sure I can keep recharging it. And I'm just actually going to turn it on to a very low thrust so we can see all of these with their different particle effects. And now look at how quickly it is training. Oh boy, look at it go. It is going far down. Now there we go. Take a look at these. I love the looks of the different effects here. Now, like I said, my personal favorites of the thrusters are the Magneto-plasma dynamic ones here, and I just, oh, look at it. You get this very cool sort of reddish purple particle effect, and depending on which one of the engines, some of them are a bit more sort of conical, where others are more of an orb plasma effect. Now, I know we're not moving, and this is sort of sideways, so it will sort of have that, but even on the bottom one there, it's more of a sphere rather than conical, which I find very, very cool. Now, on the VASIMR ones, they're definitely a bit more like your traditional particle effect there, as you can see. It's kind of got the white heat and smoke, well, technically not smoke, I guess. That is a combination of either the xenon gas or the argon gas there, whichever one. And, oh, there we go, we ran out of electric charge. That is a sound. Oh god, I forgot what it sounded like when they lose charge. Alright, now next on the pulsed inductive thrusters, these ones, a very cool sort of light pink haze to them. Again, more spherical in shape on these, but very, very cool overall. It's nice to see all these different colors and shapes of the engine sort of particle trails. Very nice. Now the next is the HAL thrusters here. And, or no, these are the gridded ion, rather, sorry. And these ones, you know, you got that very, very cool sort of blue cone, but it's not like the traditional conical effect like this one, where the cone is tapering out. It's more the reverse. The cone sort of starts at the engine, and it spews out, which I find quite cool. So it's basically a sort of a reverse cone from the standard engines, which is quite nice. I do enjoy that. And finally, we do have the HAL thrusters, which are barely visible in a particle effect, as you can see right there. It's just a very tiny, tiny little purplish pink haze, and it's, well, there for your enjoyment. Now, I actually did not point out a couple of other engines that we did have in the vehicle assembly building, mainly because meh. they're not technically engines, they're RCS. Now we have, up at the top of our command pod here, we have a pulsed plasma RCS thruster, which actually uses solid fuel, which is quite intriguing. So if I turn on RCS and actually put it on the docking mode, and actually thrust up, you'll see a just slight, minuscule, tiny amount of brightness that happens with this when it does get thrusted up. It's barely noticeable. I don't even know if you guys will be able to see it after color corrections, etc. with editing in YouTube, but it is a solid fuel engine that will just kind of get used as it gets used. There we go, just a slight little bit of light there. And yet doesn't use much fuel at all because, well, it is solid, it can't be changed, so it will last for quite a while. Now, we actually do have a ion thruster RCS right over here, which, again, has barely any effect whatsoever, but you can see us kind of moving about on the gimbaling there. So it's you're not going to see much from it, but it will give you a little bit of a push. Now, next is with the HAL engines. That definitely you're not going to see. I mean, you can barely see the overall HAL engines down here, and so that with RCS, yeah, you're not going to see much at all. And the final ones are down here. We have the Magneto-plasma dynamic RCS, which actually has 4 different varieties, where we either have a 1-nozzle version, a 3-nozzle version, 4-nozzle, or 5-directional version. So just, you know, whatever you want to go with for your RCS. You have different options, and again, God, if I can zoom in and try and see just a tiny little bit of brightness change. Like, see, watch this one right here. That's probably the most noticeable. Currently, no RCS. Now I'm powering it on. No RCS. Now I'm powering it on. It's just such a tiny little light you don't notice, but it will give you a tiny bit of thrust for RCS. But yeah, that is all the different engines, etc. for the Near Future Propulsion, and I love it. Oh, just so many beautiful engines with so many different designs, particle effects, and uses. So if you would like to give this a try for yourself, and I definitely would say to give it a go because, well, I mean, who doesn't like variety in their missions? But yes, you can take a look at the link in the description, as always, and I would definitely say to go and have some fun with this stuff. And, well, I hope you have enjoyed this episode today, and you do come back for the next, when we will be looking at yet another part of the Near Future Technologies mod. I haven't decided which one yet, but it's probably either going to be the electrical one or the solar power one of the two, probably, because, well, with these engines you need a lot of power, so yeah, the electrical or solar might be a good one to look at. But that's gonna be it for today. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course you do come back for the next, but until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.